This is the Sabbath School lesson for the fourth quarter, 2020.
Lesson 9 for November 21 to 27, The Church and Education. Read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Sunday, November 22, True Christian Education. The story is told of a rabbi who, looking into the sleepy eyes of the young men who sat in his classroom, asked, "Students, where does one know when the night has ended and the day has begun?" Several of the students cautiously raised their hands. "Rabbi," one asked, "is it when you can tell the difference between a fig tree and an olive tree?" "No." Another student raised his hand. "Rabbi, is it when you can tell the difference between a sheep and a goat?" After listening to a host of answers, the rabbi announced, "Students, one knows the night has ended and the day has begun when you could look at a face never before seen and recognize the stranger as a brother or sister. Until that moment, no matter how bright the day, it is still the night." Question. Read Luke chapter 10, verses 30 to 37. What was the point that Jesus was making with this story, and what should this tell us about what must be part of any true Christian education? Luke chapter 10, beginning at verse 30. Then Jesus answered and said, "A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came down the road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked, and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, 'Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I come again I will repay you.' So which of these 3 do you think was neighbour to him who fell among the thieves?" And he said, "He who showed mercy on him." Then Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." As Seventh-day Adventists, we have been blessed with an abundance of doctrinal light and truth. The state of the dead, the Sabbath, 1844 and the Judgment, the great controversy, to name a few things, that even most of the Christian world still doesn't understand. And yet, however crucial these truths are, what good do they do us if we are not kind to people, if we display prejudice against others, and if we allow the cultural and social biases of our environment to cause us to treat others as inferiors? True Christian education, if nothing else, must cause us to rise above these human foibles and evils and see others as Christ sees them, beings for whom he died, beings whose sins he bore on the cross, beings for whom he paid an infinite price. If we uplift the cross, as we must, then we will see the value and worth of every human being, and ideally treat them as they truly deserve, in keeping with the value that God has placed on them. Christian education must include this teaching, or else it is not worthy of the name Christian. And so to finish the day, what prejudices does your culture and society teach, either subtly or even openly, that as a Christian you must rise above? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired, Christian Record Services for the Blind, the Sabbath School Department, and Hope Channel. You can also listen on the official Sabbath School 4 app and the Apple iTunes app, Sabbath School with Percy Harrold. Remember, God is always faithful.